Okay, hello. Our team is going to present the language content studies. Our members are my classmates Eduardo and Daniel Cano. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to tell about the theory focus of the language content. So the focus of this theory is that examines the interaction between languages. Then, of course, when speakers of different languages come into contact with each other, and also this investigates how those languages influence each other in such situations, and also theory focus and lead to the phenomena like borrowing, code switching, and also the language convergence. Uh, this theory also explores the sociocultural and historical factors that shape these interactions between two or more languages.
Okay, we have like a brief history about this approach of thinking, this theory. We have to set the year of 1953 as the key year for the development of this approach, because before this year, linguistic treated this language contact theory as something irrelevant. They used to analyze and study the language by independency, just one element and one element. They didn't recognize that languages could be influenced by other languages. As we know, some causes of this phenomenon are that the the immigration, for example, to not talk more about it, but linguists in this age think that that these elements, that language is not influenced by other language. They used to only take the language by its own. I mean, to set an example, if they used mm, to set an example, they possibly could analyze Spanish as an independent language from the different varieties that we have nowadays. They should take this first variation of Spanish that it has recorded, and they will analyze it in just in this way, not taking in count another accents, another dialects that are part of this um, cultural convergency. But in 1953, Uriel Wainwright wrote Language in Context, Finding and Problems, and that was an article who set the precedent for the study of this term, because he proposed to study the language by its sound, the relation that language, the evolution that language has through the history and and the convert has with other languages certain periods of history. And at the end of the time, they this this person, Uriel Wenrich, uh, describes the language contact as any occasion in which two or more languages are in contact. They convergence in order, maybe it's not intentionally, but this phenomenon exists, and it results in another variety of a language. And here we have the maximum exponent of this approach, the language contact approach, Uriel Winrich, who was a Polish linguistic, who wrote this Language in Contact Finding and Problems, which is an article published in the American Journal of Sociology in 1952, but it was published in 1953. And he talked about the topic and the different linguistic consequences that it has. Some of them code switching, code mixing, and other consequences.
So, as my partners were saying and were talking, as a main consequence of the contact language studies, we can relate this field of the research which has focused on particular types of language called pidgins and creoles that we're going to talk deeper in a few moments, in a few slides, before we check these terms. These ones, pidgins and creoles, we have emerged in instances where the groups in contact do not learn each other's language or some other language of wider communication. Okay, this was said by Romain in 2004. Now, for some time, linguists, sorry, believed that other linguistic phenomena, such as borrowing and transfer, uh, convergence and code switching, that are some topics, some words, some terms that we already know and we already talked about on this presentation. Those of this were a result of contact language. But it's important to say that this language contact doesn't have to be like forcefully related with the bilingualism or multilingualism. This was said as well for roaming in 2004. Now, I want to us to set again language contact. Okay, we already know that is when speakers of two or more languages, sorry, or varieties of a language interact, and not only interact, they have to make some influence between each other. This is because it's a really close interaction. Okay. And also, when speakers of different languages interact closely, it's typically for their languages to influence each other, as I said before. Why? Because when we are maybe in another country or somebody of another country comes with us, it's typically to have this exchange not only of language but also of culture. And the only way to understand the culture of other person or other country, we have to be forced to know about their language. Okay, so let's check the types of language contact. As we know, as we said before, we have code switching. Okay, that is the ability to change between languages. For example, we have a Filipino speaker that he or she has to speak. Oh, sorry. Has to speak Cebuano, Tagalog, and English as well because their context and their country they have to know those three languages. Okay, we have also borrowing, that is taking a word from another language and using in ours. For example, the word umbrella in English is an Italian word that in English we use it as an object to cover us for the sun or the rain. Okay? And then we have the language shift, that is a change from the use of one language to the use of another one. This is different with code switching and language shift. Code switching, sorry, is the ability for changing between languages. Okay, and language shift is as our main language, we are changing all the language we are going to use. For example, at the end of the World War II, many Spanish speakers, most of them were the crown, okay, the Spanish crown. They changed for a while their main language from Spanish to English, and they started speaking English, and their children started to learn only English, not Spanish, and so on. So language shift is to leave your current language and start using another one, okay, as your main language. Okay, and we have these words, pidgin, okay? We have here an example, but let me tell you, pidgin is it's a contact language that is developed in this situation between the, where two speakers, okay, of different languages need a certain language to communicate. It doesn't have to be that grammatically correct, or they have to make like this structure. For example, we have the Hawaiian pidgin. In Hawaiian, they said inside dirt and cover and blanket finish. Okay. For an English grammatically knowing person, we might say, okay, I don't know what's the meaning here, but the way that they are expressing is they want to say they put the body in the ground and cover it with a blanket, and that's all. Okay, so as you can see, finish for them is that's all. Inside dirt is they put the body in the ground, and cover, that's uncover, okay, and blanket, cover it with a blanket. Okay, so that's pidgin. And we have also Creole, that this is a complete language used in a community and is acquired by children as their native language. Something similar as we were talking about the language shift. Okay, so we have, for example, Conyo English Creole, that is, oh my God, sorry, that is an African language with English. They said, I know you will make cane pa that apple after it made you love na on the floor. Okay? They are like combining their language because they are starting acquiring the English as their own language. And they wanted to say, what? You will still eat that apple after it already fell on the floor? That's the main idea in just English. But this, they are like starting that conversion from their own language to English. Okay, so let's continue.
Okay, so let's check some other examples. Uh, as we know, this language contact can occur with occur, for example, as a result of migration. One example here is that the Chinese language has influenced Japanese. For example, like the vocabulary borrowing. these borrowings are in terms of religion, art, science, and government. Also, the kanji characters from Japan, for Chinese, are borrowed in the Japanese language. These characters are used in Chinese languages, but then the Japanese developed its own writing system called hiragana and katakana. So it has the influence of the kanji, and also today it remains a part of the Japanese writing. So let's move on to the next example. So some forms of the contact language, the language contact can occur, as I mentioned before, its migration for many reasons, also trade, colonization, or military occupation. This could increase mobility of speakers. So one example of colonization here in Mexico, our country, is the conquest of Spanish people to the Aztec Empire. For example, many other indigenous people than the Aztecs began to speak Spanish due to the Spanish conquest. We replaced the Nahuatl for Spanish, and in our days, the majority of people speak Spanish, not these other languages. So as a result, many Aztecs and other indigenous people were forced to learn Spanish for communication with the authorities and the settlers. So Spanish here in Mexico became more widely spoken among the native population and gradually replacing the indigenous languages in many areas here in Mexico. So this is a big example for us. So here are our reference. Sorry, this is all for our presentation. Thanks for the attention.
Thank you.